What's up, you guys? Welcome to Fightful. It's October 1st, 2025. It's Wednesday. It's time to... Oh, we are ready to hump you for a good, solid amount of time. We're here to answer your super chats. We're here to answer your humper chats from humperchats.com. Please leave a thumbs up on this video. But I have a familiar face here with me, someone who I love doing shows with. We've got lukewarm Luke Owen.
Hey man, how's it going?
It's been a while. I mean, I always love talking to you. I always love doing work with you. It's always been a blast. I mean, I heavily credit you and many other people for increasing my footprint in the UK, of which I had no idea how little it was until I went on Wrestle Talk and I was like, oh, there's other continents.
Oh man, well, dude, I've got to give my applause and my flowers to you, because without the hard work that you do, we do not have much of a show. Like we have very little to go on.
Well, I appreciate that, but by God, if people want to show their love and support, FightfulSelect.com. I had 2 days off this week, and that's my idea of a vacation. I went to Denver, went to watch my favorite football team. And even as that happens, I'm collecting news and all that. So after this show over on FightfulSelect.com, I'm going to have a loaded news update. We're going to have stuff on CM Punk, Mystico. We've got an entry from the Beyond Nitro book. We've got a ton of stuff coming over on FightfulSelect.com. $5.99 a month. We would greatly appreciate if you guys would check that out, support it, and do all that. But we got Luke here, and we're answering your super chats and humper chats as long as you guys are here sending them. But we got Matthew Hooks of Hooked In Voiceover saying, what are your expectations for the AEW Anniversary show tonight? Surprises, announcements, tag title bracket, maybe. Luke, I was extremely pumped about these women's tag titles. What are your expectations in some of these areas?
With regards to the tag titles, some details would be nice, because it was real nice to have the belts unveiled last week, but Tony Khan's non-blinking announcements where he was like, hey, at some point soon, there'll be some women holding these belts. And I'm like, right. Yeah. I think if you're going to announce something, you want to announce some details about that, as opposed to just being like, here are some nice looking belts. So details would be lovely on that, brackets, whatever it may be, when they're going to be crowned. I'm super hoping we're going to get something around that. It makes me feel like they weren't supposed to be announced this week, and when they were announced last week, and they got spooked by a low ratings. They pulled the ripcord and did the Tony Khan has a special announcement, has a big announcement. They pulled that ripcord to try and bump the rating up the following week. Which I actually don't know if it worked. I've not checked. But yeah, it just sort of like details were scanned, so that would be nice. And yeah, I think seeing Jurassic Express back together will be fun. Kenny's wrestling, it will just feel like a fun nostalgia show, which is weird because the company's like 6 years old.
And I mean, they definitely brought back some names like Eddie Kingston and Jack Perry, along with Jurassic Express, that really highlight, I think, some of the original flavor of AEW, which I think is very, very important. Listen, I don't have any insight on this, but I think that MJF, knowing him, like, he might just be back tonight, swerving everybody into thinking that he was going away for a while, because I know that he has taken great pride in the fact that he just continues to work through this movie and all that. And also, like, he's been a little bit more protective of his schedule since I've reported it, since I have like the detailed itinerary, which seems to be a habit for Fightful, reporting where and when MJF is going to be somewhere, or where his tickets might be headed. But of which I still have a copy of, by the way. I still have a physical copy. But as far as the women's tag team tournament goes, assuming there is one, I think this is a really great opportunity to show women in wrestling, if you want to be a tag team wrestler as a woman, this is where you go. This is where you come. WWE has never done that. They have never taken it and said, oh, this is the place for you to be if you want to if you want to be a women's tag team wrestler. And they've had the opportunity to do that, and they just have never done that. It's been wildly frustrating to see. But I had always wanted there to be world tag team titles instead of just AEW. It kind of gave us both. They're AEW World Women's Tag titles, but I think that is one where we'll see, I think, a couple talent that are portrayed as upper to top card people winning, because AEW has the habit of that. Cody Rhodes won the TNT title. Like, Eddie Kingston was in the middle of a Triple Crown push for the Continental. Pac was originally one of the top guys considered for the world title, and he won the All Atlantic. So I could see like Alex Windsor and Jamie Hayter winning those tag titles. Them bringing back Kenny Omega was sooner than many expected, but those are some of the things that I think that we'll see. Dave says, hey, fellas, I'd like for you to highlight your favorite women's matches and moments of the year. In my opinion, this has been the greatest year in history for the ladies. Any thoughts on that?
Hollywood ending. That match ruled. It still baffles me to this day that how that was not the main event of the show.
Yes.
I think if that main event of that show, I think people will be talking about that pay-per-view as one of the best of the year and would be raving about it to this day.
Yeah, like, I don't care what reason anybody has given me since, and people in AEW did try to justify that it was going to be, or that it didn't need to be the main event. I was like, no, it would have been even better as the main event. And then in Hollywood, you could have had a giant curtain close across the stage to end that show. It would have been the most perfect thing ever. And it doesn't even feel like it happened this year. It feels like it happened like so long ago.
I guess because Mariah's gone to NXT, and she went so quickly from the Hollywood ending into NXT. So yeah, it does feel like it should have taken place a long time ago than it did do. I'm actually, speaking of WWE, seeing the turnaround for Charlotte Flair has been really nice this year, because I think she had a really rough start to the year. Like the return, which I think, I don't know if you agree with this or what you think, but I feel like Triple H, when it was booking Charlotte's return, was trying to emulate the Beautiful Day 2002 Triple H return, and was like, we'll do the 2000. People will love it because they loved it when I did it in 2002, and it just didn't connect. It didn't work at all. So the Rumble win didn't get over. Then the WrestleMania match didn't get over. And it was a weird feud because it was just so much stuff being reported and, and written about Charlotte Flair. Not great. She was going through a lot of personal stuff. So it just felt like bad for her. So seeing then what happened at SummerSlam, and now everyone's super into Charlotte Flair, I think that's really nice.
Yeah, very much. Some other ones that I love. I mean, anybody that watches my stuff knows that I'm a big Sherry Kondo fan. Her and Sari in March and June were both great. Her against Mayu Iwatani, one of the best wrestlers on the planet now, in April was really good. Naomi's ascent, that it's insane to think that all the stuff happened to her in a few months, like just crazy. But her heel run was fantastic. The reveal at Elimination Chamber, looking back, is probably my favorite thing about Elimination Chamber since The Rock just left. But like when Jade came out and Liv was like, no, it's not me. And then she attacked Naomi. What a fantastic reveal. Bianca playing that up, and the Mania match with Bianca, Bianca as well, with Io and Rhea. Lots of good stuff.
Magic stuff.
Women's wrestling.
But yeah, really, really good. Like the Naomi thing. So I was at the SmackDown taping they did in London when they played that first Naomi Proceed with Caution promo.
Yes.
And I was with a friend of mine, Luke Morton from Kerrang magazine, and I was like, that's ruled. That was so good. And I was saying to Ollie when we were doing our previews and stuff for Mania, I was like, look, she ain't winning. She is not winning at WrestleMania. She's not beating Jade Cargill at WrestleMania. Absolutely not. But I really hope that they can continue this push, because there is something here. This is so good. You cannot just do this as a one and done thing. So I was beyond thrilled that they did. And hey, being pregnant's great. So congratulations to her and Big Jim.
Who's the bald looking guy cosplaying as Luke?
Yeah, I mean, if people have been sticking around with my my YouTube years for the last 10 years, in fact, that I've been doing stuff on YouTube, you may remember when I had hair once. I had this real bad comb over that I held on to for far too long. It was awful. I hate it. I hate looking back at it now.
Well, I mean, I remember the bald era of Wrestle Talk where like just everybody was going bald.
Oh yeah, the pandemic made us do crazy things. Like everyone was just shaving their head.
I was just really fortunate that I previously in that year had already had my hair cut off with a hook knife by Awesome Kong. I was like, they can't ask me to go do that for them. I don't even work there. So I can't be asked to do that.
No.
Thankfully.
Yeah, man.
Josh Morgan sends a very generous super chat like he does every week. We appreciate you so much, man. Your support and people who subscribe to Fightful Select are the reason why we're able to do what we do. You can gift subscriptions on Patreon Fightful Select now, so check that out, guys. MASP says, is Oba getting called up? What brand does he go to?
Luke, it's probably more for you, right? What are your insights, Sean? What are they telling you? I know you put up the thing on Fightful Select, the best $5.99 in the business. What are people telling you?
Not a lot, because that's why I ran that story. Not a lot on this one. It is very close to the vest, but I think they need to go all the way with him, Luke. I would go with the maybe the biggest, if not the second biggest initial main roster push of all time after Brock Lesnar's. And people forget how Brock Lesnar came in. I'll remind you. He came in, he dominated a bunch of people. He won King of the Ring. He was going to beat Stone Cold Steve Austin in the King of the Ring tournament. Then he showed up and beat The Rock at SummerSlam for the world title. That was like 5 months. Oba Femi has already had years on TV. So here's what I would do. One of two things. One, I would have him be John Cena's last opponent, which now I'm not as keen on because Brock just crushed him. So what's the point, right? Like if you already had Brock crush him, whoop-de-doo. So now what I'd do is have him go to Saudi Rumble, win the Saudi Rumble, and face Cody and beat Cody soundly at WrestleMania, because there are few people that I think can really make Oba Femi as the monster that Cody Rhodes can. He's very sympathetic in that, and I don't think that there is money in an Oba Femi chase. There is money in people trying to topple Oba Femi and not being able to. But how do you see that one working out, Luke?
Dude, I'm all in on that style of idea because, like, I'm looking at the live chat at the moment, and a lot of people talking about Sami Zayn going on an IC title run like Gunther. If I'm bringing up Oba Femi, I'm putting him straight into that world title picture. And putting him against Cody and having him just beat Cody, that rules. That is an awesome way to just make someone feel legit. You could do it on Raw. Like, you could move him over to there and have him win the World Heavyweight Championship right out of the books, because that is a world title. It doesn't feel like the top title in WWE, but it is a world title, and you could make the argument that they've made a new star with that. But if you really want to make a statement, you just go out there and he just beats Cody for that belt. I love it. Absolutely love that idea.
We've got Tim McFall saying it's Luke Owen, DAD, saw SRS for the first time on Wrestle Talk that led to me to Fightful with Sean and Denise, and the rest is history. So happy to see you two back together. Thoughts on women's Blood and Guts and the state of AEW. So they finally announced women's Blood and Guts. Blood and Guts will take place. They say when. It was like, it's the Greensboro show is when it's happening.
Right, okay.
Don't know exactly who's in it yet, but this had been a thing that had been speculated for quite some time, Luke, and finally unfolded. How are you feeling about the direction of that?
I feel like it was just a matter of time. Like, I think this was one of those when rather than ifs. I think they were always going to end up doing this match, and it's the right time to do it because the women's roster feels so stacked in AEW. Look, like I've said this about AEW since the very get-go, and I still think it rings true today, and it's the reason why I am struggling to, outside of the fact there's a lot of details, to get excited about the women's tag team titles, because we're 6 years in, we're still getting one match on Dynamite. And so, like, you want to build a world title, a mid-card title, and the tag team titles, as well as other feuds, just singles feuds between wrestlers or tag team feuds between wrestlers. you need more than just one match per week on Dynamite, or 2 matches that you might get on Collision, or a match and a half, whatever it is. You need to put in some real TV time into this. So I'm super stoked that the women's roster feels stacked in AEW. It's just a case of giving them time on TV to really make sure that the work that you're putting in, or the work that they're putting in, is reflected.
Yeah, and I think that the undercard of the women, first off, they've had to develop something on the undercard, because you've had pretty well 3 dominant world champions in Timeless Toni Storm up until she lost to Chris, Mercedes, and then Athena. Now, what I think happens when Mercedes eventually loses her championship, it becomes more of an upper mid card title than what it has been, which was Jade Cargill. We don't want to beat her, but also she's not ready to compete for the world title type of thing. And then Mercedes in the, okay, well, we want to establish this title type of thing. But this championship, I think, is going to, the tag team titles are going to help out that division quite a bit as well. And we're going to see some of that also emerge from this Blood and Guts. I just think they've done a much better job developing underneath, like the Tekla Amanada stuff. Has me like, okay, if they want Amanada to beat Mercedes for that title, I'd be cool with it. I would love it.
Yeah, Tekla rules. Like she's
amazing.
Like you made a debut, and already you just feel like one of like the most established people on that roster. Like she rules. So like, yeah, I'd imagine Triangle of Madness for sure will be on the heel side of Blood and Guts, and I think you're going to end up with Queen Amanada, Willow Nightingale, maybe Marina's on the heel side as well. So you got Willow Nightingale on the good guy side. Jamie Hayter will be on that good guy side. I would put Toni Storm in that match because she's just a wild card. I don't think, particularly North American and the 2 major companies, no one does women's hardcore matches better than AEW. Like, I think they've never really faltered on them. They're always a really fun time. And them going into Blood and Guts, that signed me up.
It was funny because a lot of fans in Japan had kind of grown tired of Tekla. She wasn't quite the in-ring performer to the caliber many thought that she needed to be there. And I was like, oh, she's going to translate really well to American TV, though. Like she's like, she speaks great English. She looks like $1 million. She is a buzzsaw. I knew she was going to go great.
Yeah.
Dave Costas, how was Colorado? The landscape is just amazing there. It was wonderful. I have a lot of friends there. I ran into my old boss, Raj Giri, at the Broncos Bengals game of all places. But it's nice. It's my second time being in Denver. I think that our audience knows I don't do vacations well. But my vacation started Monday morning and lasted until late Tuesday night. And that's about all I can handle. I enjoy working. So it was fun. It was really good. I could see myself living in a place like Colorado. It was a good time. Thank you very much for asking. JM said, go ahead.
It sounds beautiful, man. Like I'm like you. I struggle to take time off. And I went away at the start of towards last month, and it was because my mum turned 70, so we kind of went on a big family vacation to Spain, to Menorca, and I made a real big thing. I was saying to my wife, I was like, "This is going to be the first time I'm properly going to enjoy this holiday. Like I am deleting everything off my phone, and I'm just using it to take some pictures of the kid." Because like I just want to enjoy this, because I'm usually bad at switching off. Terrible at switching off.
I think like the closest I've had, so funny enough, I think my last vacation was Colorado, and I've told this story on the air. When we were there, my wife and I, the people we were visiting, we saw the argument, and when I say the argument, I mean the argument that led to their divorce. We were witnesses to such a thing. So that was not lovely at all. That wasn't a great vacation. And I remember it was the weekend that Nick Gage and Matt Cardona had their like death match or something. And I was like, let me cover this real quick. Let me just do anything with this. But other than that, it was one of the times I went to the UK, and my wife and I spent a week there. We actually visited you guys at Wrestle Talk. That was wonderful. But yeah, that was kind of the closest, but that was still a work trip. I was doing a lot of work on that trip.
You came in to shoot with us. Like that is not taking time off.
Yeah. JM says, it's annoying with Triple H is constantly hanging out with Trump and keeps glazing Trump in interviews, worried he's inviting him to Cena's last match. So from what I understand, JM, I think there is a schedule that emerged that had Trump elsewhere around the time that would be occurring. But I tell you what, that sounds like a very TKO thing to do, and you're completely understandable that you feel that way. But I definitely understand why you would feel that way, for sure.
100%, yeah, absolutely. What do you think the odds are? Sorry, I was trying to dive in.
No, go ahead.
Because we've been talking about this in the office. I feel that in 2025, WWE have been testing the waters for Vince on TV. I think Triple H saying his name in the Hall of Fame, I think showing him in footage, putting pictures of him up, I feel has been and bringing Brock back, I think has been testing the waters.
Sure.
Do you see him at the retirement?
At the retirement, I can't say no, but I haven't heard anything about it. Like, everybody that I talk to claims there's no upside to having Vince on their TV ever again. Because they know what they know. Yeah, there's not, because they know what that will facilitate. And that will be him trying to angle his way back in. They say that it's not an accident that certain people have not been seen with him in public since all this, and it's tough because I have lived through his retirement, which was over 3 years ago, if you can believe that, over 3 years ago. But he didn't really leave until January 2024. And I remember it was maybe February of 2023, Luke, and I had a talent saying, Vince is still running shit, right? And I was like, what? They're like, yeah, he just forced his way back. That's all. Like, he just forced his way back in, and he's still contributing creative. And I had people saying I was fear-mongering and just trying to bury WWE. And I was like, listen, guys, WWE claims that he's not, but he is. I don't think that they will get back to that. I don't think Vince will ever be in creative again. I think it really affected Vince that he portrayed for a number of years that it was a house of cards, and if he was pulled out, it would collapse. And then not only did it not collapse, it thrived and reached heights that he could not have imagined. And it's very funny that the CM Punk pipe bomb promo, which is known as like this big shoot thing, was completely scripted, but predicted almost all of it.
Yeah.
It's so wild. It's so wild.
Yeah. I can't ever see him being back in any form of creative, but like
exactly
as an on-screen appearance, I wouldn't put it past him.
Oh man, Johnny Wells says my favorite two wrestling aggregators, both in one place. Here's to you two guys doing a fab job of what you do. Sorry, Sean, for the Dodgers sweep in advance. Well, if you feel that confident in it, Johnny Wells, go over to MyBookie AG. Take that $100 that you deposit, get a $50 bonus when you use the code FIGHTFUL. Or if you're feeling real good, feeling real confident about a Dodgers sweep of the Reds, go Reds. Put down $200 and you'll get a $100 bonus. You can bet on anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Score a 100% bet back bonus up to $500 for new customers only. And you can bet on wrestling. That's right. If you're that confident in WWE, NXT, AAA matches, trying to get them to at AEW as well, MyBookie AG has betting on wrestling. I've made plenty over there myself. You can bet with Bitcoin. You can play table games. They have a 150% casino bonus. They got slot games, a little bit of everything. Let's just pull up these MLB odds for today. And that's not a surprise. The Cincinnati Reds are enormous underdogs, the biggest underdogs in the playoffs. But if you think they're going to turn the tides, go over to MyBookie AG, put a little money down. We only want you to bet what you can, and please bet responsibly. But I'll let you guys know I am not betting on the Cincinnati Reds tonight. I am not Pete Rose. It is not going to happen. I am more likely to get tombstoned by Kane at WrestleMania like Pete Rose, as opposed to betting on the Reds or betting in this night at least. I did do well in the NFL this past week, though. 3 of my 4 picks hit. I was very excited about that. My bookie AG. Man, we got Meat Enormous. Go ahead. Sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, did you see the professionalism of how he segued into that ad read? It's inspiring to watch live. Like when I listen to it on the podcast, like it's like I don't know how he does it. Watching it live though, and being right next to you, it's incredible to see.
I just got a notification from my bookie that they picked the winners of their 50-50 raffle. You can even do that over there for the love of God. Like it's a good time, man. It's a very good time. I'm going to check out how my bets went. I've still got a couple of open ones. I need to place some money on this week's Thursday night football game as well. But listen, I had been betting on the Bengals, and not going to do that anymore. Not going to even hold out hope. Not going to hold out hope. Inflatable Carnival says, want your tutors to be a big deal? Put the biggest star in the company. Tutors. Titles. It was a voice to text, obviously. Mina and Timeless Tony are the first champs. I wouldn't hate that. Again, two very top portrayed talents. I would prefer that they wouldn't be treated like the interim ROH TV title that didn't get defended for 2 months until Mina had already had 2 other world title shots in the interim. But who do you see as the first champs?
I had Mina and Tony. I think that's the tag team that makes the most sense. I think Mina saying she hasn't heard from Tony on TV is not by accident. I think that will definitely lead to them teaming together. Yeah, I can see them for sure being that. Or like if you put them on the Triangle of Madness, because one of the things I do want this tag division to feel is like a tag team division. Not just a bunch of Franken teams just thrown together. What I love about tag team wrestling is they feel like tag teams. FTR are a tag team. Jurassic Express are a tag team. Like I want them to feel like, so putting them on the Triangle of Madness, who at this point do feel like a tag team and not just 2 people put together. I'm all for that sort of thing.
Meat Enormous says 10 years ago, this show would be the Dong Lord and the other one now SRS and DAD. My favorite British granny are together again. Let's crank. I'd go meaty and have Hater Windsor at Willow Bazilla. The British granny reference was phenomenal. That was from MJF saying WrestleMyBritishGranny.com in one of his interviews, of which I then registered the URL WrestleMyBritishGranny.com immediately. That was phenomenal. That was great. Meat Enormous, we appreciate you so much.
Genuinely. It's a very big thrill for me. Like, I listen to your shows and you hear names like Meat Enormous, KE775. Like they're seeing them in the live chat. I'm like, I know those people.
Yes.
Like, they're as big as stars on this show than you and Kate are.
I love it. But man, we got some Humper chats too. New Lac City says, hey guys, it's time to admit Jade Cargill is just what she is. She's been the same wrestler for 3 or 4 years, still good enough to be a star. But Booker's comments were ridiculous, acting like she's fresh from AEW and that's why she's green. Buddy, the number of wrestlers that I had reaching out about those comments today from WWE, AEW, TNA was wild. Like, look, I know that Matt Riddle is not looked upon fondly in the wrestling world, but could you imagine that when he was going on his super indie run and like, if he wasn't good and he was like green, they said, well, he's 2 years out of the UFC. So he's still, no, he was already good by then. He was already good by then. Kurt Angle, already good. Brock Lesnar, already good. Now you
Logan
can't
Paul.
always, exactly. You can't always be that, but Tiffany Stratton has been wrestling the same amount of time as Jade Cargill. Braun Breaker has been wrestling about the same amount of time as Jade Cargill. Now, maybe Jade Cargill was not the level of indisputable athlete that those two were. Obviously, she has presence that cannot be taught. But 2 years later, saying fresh out of AEW is nuts, Luke.
It's one of the funniest things I've heard all year. Fresh off her AEW run, dude. She has been with this. It feels like she's been in WWE longer than she was in AEW at this point. He often just says the wildest things on his podcast, where he just very well casually would just be like, I just think this person sucks, and they need to come to the performance center. And I'm just like, you're employed by this company. You should be trying to put these
kind of funny
over.
sometimes. It's very funny though. Like I do. Listen, he's gonna say what he thinks.
Yeah,
at the very least.
I think he's the worst commentator in all of professional wrestling.
Which
he says the funniest things on a podcast.
The funniest thing is, like, one of my favorite lines in the history of commentary was before he ever did commentary, and Batista got slammed through the table in front of him, and he just keeps repeating, "Batista is down! Batista is down!" And they go like a full minute later, and they're like, "I can't believe it. He got put through a table. How is he going to recover? Batista is down." It was amazing. And he's standing over Batista saying it. It's fantastic. But listen, there's one real highlight. Let's see. Where is it?
I got to pop my dick, man.
He said neck, Sean. You know that he said neck.
Oh, God. Could you imagine if, like, you know, the Iceman, Dean Malenko, comes out, he popping his neck. He's like, hold on. I've got to pop my dick, man.
Pop my dick before I get into this match. Before I do one of my 1004 holds.
I mean, hey, maybe in his 2000s gimmick where he was after Lita.
Yeah, absolutely. When he was the ladies' man, absolutely. Actually on NXT commentary, I very much lulled and laughed out loud when they had this big brawl at the end between TNA and NXT, and Vic Joseph turned to Booker T and said, "Booker, have you ever been involved in anything like this in your life?" I'm like, yeah, during the invasion in 2001 when he was the WCW champion.
By the way, Jade Cargill has wrestled more matches in WWE than she has AEW.
Yep.
New Lac City also says, I disagree with Luke that now the women are getting more time and a lot more stories infused between the mid and lower card women, especially because they made the women's world and TBS titles mean something. They've developed a lot of teams lately. I do feel like that, but I agree with Luke. They should have more than one Dynamite match. Like, I believe both of those things are true. Like, I feel like there's room for both.
Yeah, I think they often just put them all into the same quarter-hour slot. I think you can do more than one match on a TV show.
Yeah. Corey says, Mercedes versus Tony Storm, all in, topped my women's match charts, in my opinion, literally on the edge of my seat. Also, Mercedes and Athena was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was great. Like, and when I was at Forbidden Door, like, I think the women's matches there absolutely killed it as well. Like, I think it's just been a superb year. And actually, like, to that point, they disagreed with me. I do think that they have had certainly more storylines, and that certainly helps. Like, it feels like it is just much more of a fleshed out division, and I absolutely love that, because that is the thing that we have been calling out for so long. Well, since day dot of the company.
Yes. Okay, so Thomas says, what was the reason behind changing NXT TNA show from Invasion to Showdown? Any thoughts on this? Yeah, first off, they just should have maybe done a little research first, but I mean, it's because of the 2-year anniversary of the attack. So that's why that happened. Like, that's the long and short of it. Glad they changed it. They should have changed it.
It's unfortunate timing.
Yeah. Is the plan for the future for WWE to buy TNA, merge them with NXT to create a larger brand of squash AEW? Hey there, Mr. Wrestle Talk. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, because a lot of people seemed to have thought maybe this would happen. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I think that buying TNA would be quite bad. I think you've actually said this before. Quite bad for that MLW lawsuit that they settled, where they were like, no, we're not a monopoly. I think just buying another promotion doesn't exactly help that argument. Like, you didn't. That's the thing. I think they were very smart. They didn't buy AAA. They acquired
it. Yes,
they acquired AAA. Very clever use of words there. That's not a monopoly. So I think that if they do it, it's more a case of the way that Vince used to fund some of ECW and kick some money across to Paul Heyman. I think it is that they are not buying them, but they are helping them. And I can for sure see the timeline in which they help TNA get a better TV deal and they put it on Wednesday night directly head to head with Dynamite.
So I have multiple thoughts on this. I've had people in the industry telling me what they think about it. And I know everybody's like, oh, well, WWE's got their fingers in every network and all that. So AEW won't have a place to go. Well, first off, they've got WBD. Second off, this is not a situation like WCW 2001 where WBD owns AEW, or at least any significant percentage that we know of. They've been a little bit evasive on some of the language when asked about it, but Tony owns it. And I had people irresponsibly aggregating a thing that I said where I mentioned it's going to operate as long as Tony Khan wants it to operate. TNA is still around. If AEW has to air on YouTube or something like that, they can and will, and would sell ads directly themselves in order to do that. But that they're not in danger of that. They are relatively low-cost programming for WBD 52 weeks a year, doing pretty good numbers and cross-promotion whenever they want. Now, if WWE, for some reason, use their power to meddle in a TV deal, like a lot of people are claiming they'll do, boy, that $20 million that they gave MLW would be a drop in the bucket compared to what Tony Khan and Shad Khan's lawyers would facilitate for, which, by the way, the MLW deal was a nothing deal. It was Tubi. This is cable and streaming on Max for $100 and however many million a year. It would be insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think that as a result of all that, WWE doesn't need to buy TNA, but to squash AEW. For what does TNA have that WWE needs to buy? They don't own their own rings. They've got a library. That's it. All the talent. Well, what's happening with the talent? What happened with Jordan Grace? They just used her when they wanted, and then they signed her. What's happening with Joe Hendry? They're not even waiting on that.
Nope, absolutely not.
They got TNA saying wherever Joe Hendry goes, he'll always be a TNA guy.
Nope. Don't buy it whatsoever. There was literally an angle on this week's show where Mike Santana said to Joe Hendry, you're basically already an NXT guy. Like, I don't trust you to be part of Team TNA.
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea, I don't think they will. The idea for me, at least in theory, is not to squash AEW. I think that in the same way they did with NXT when they moved that to the USA Network and went, head to head with Dynamite, it's not to beat them in the ratings. It is to hurt their ratings. Because if they can chip away at the ratings and make those ratings go down, it will make it harder for AEW to get a better deal when their current deal with WBD expires. They'll probably get another deal, but it may not be for as much money. And if WWE can help them not make as much money on the next deal, that's a win for WWE. So it's not a case. TNA would never beat them in the ratings. I mean, they might do, depends on how much they load. They put the Undertaker and John Cena on the show. They might do, but it's a really just about chipping away at those ratings and hurting the audience.
And I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh well, they can do that and get them a TV deal." Why? They went and got Evolve and LFG TV deals on their own. Like, they can just start up a new brand and do whatever they want. I don't know. Ronan Mike says, hey, Sean, thought it was interesting. WWE hasn't really boasted about WrestlePalooza's debut on ESPN with how quickly they have been to pat themselves on the back. Do you think the PLE performed under their expectations? I don't have any insight on that. I did expect the largest streamed PLE type of thing, but that they are not getting that. It's not going to happen. They're not going to get more people watching that than on Peacock or WWE Network, much more affordable services. Now, I know that things are a little bit different for you, Luke, which...
There it is.
Listen, things are a lot more different for you over in the UK because you got Netflix. And listen, even if you're not in the UK, you can be in the UK with NordVPN.com/Fightful. That's right. Luke over here gets to watch Raw, NXT, SmackDown, and PLEs on Netflix, and you can too. Just $2.98 a month is the on average price for nordvpn.com/Fightful. And everybody's got a Netflix subscription, and they're very chill about VPNs. They just want your money, really. That's all they care about. And all you got to do, log in any device, phone, desktop, laptop, PC, router, all that good stuff. Smart TV even. Change your virtual location, log in your Netflix account, you got it all. Pay-per-views, half off. That's what they're making these guys pay over there because, they're usually ordering pay-per-views at 2 a.m. I wonder if that'll change with the schedule. Hasn't yet, though. NordVPN.com/Fightful. 30-day money-back guarantee, 24/7 tech support that has you covered. If you are a wrestling fan, it is a must-purchase, especially in America. But let me tell you what I do during football season. Little trick Denise's husband taught me. I don't have NFL Sunday ticket. So what I do is I just change whatever market I want to watch a game in. So if I want to watch the 49ers game, I just change my VPN to San Francisco. Can log in, check out that channel on my local service or their site, and you can see that market or you can see that game in their market. It's really fantastic. Saves you a bunch of money. And listen, these days, who isn't trying to save some money? NordVPN.com/Fightful. We truly appreciate them. And they have a plethora of other things that I barely promote because there's so many wrestling benefits, but they've got threat protection, they've got encryption, they've got a little bit of everything. And you guys should really check that out. NordVPN.com/Fightful. But I was surprised to see ESPN not boasting about it in some capacity. I think in the coming months, you'll get the most watched wrestling event on ESPN ever type of thing, But yeah. Dave Koss says, if I had the pen, Oba squashes Cena and MSG, wins the U.S. title on the following SmackDown, only sort of kidding about the squash. I wouldn't put the U.S. title on him because I would immediately paint him as main event world title contender. For some reason, WWE has loved going slow with guys like Braun Breaker. If Braun Breaker existed in 2003, he'd be world champion immediately. A lot of people forget, like Batista was not around like two and a half years, TV to champion. And even then they did a great slow build with Triple H. How do you want to see Oba brought in?
Like I said earlier, I'm bringing him in. I'm putting him straight into that world title picture. Like you mentioned Brock and you mentioned Kurt. Rock's another guy. Like, they bring him in. It's Survivor Series 96. He's world champion 2 years later. Like he is WWE champion, WWF champion a couple of years later. They, as a company, have a good track record of bringing guys in and making them main eventers and champions. I think they need to do this with Oba Femi. I totally get the idea of giving him the mid-card run, of giving him the Gunther year-plus long IC title run. I get the idea behind it. I just think you don't want to go slow. You don't need to go slow on this one. Low and slow is not the way with Oba Femi. You bring him in, you make him a monster. You make him a world champion.
What else do we have here? Get those super chats in. Get those humper chats in. Greg Cherry Brand. You know what? I bet he's hosting Quizzlemania very soon. Says, getting some nostalgia for simple and quizzier times. Hope yous are well. My question is, who are your early picks for Royal Rumble winners? So, easy FightfulSelect.com plug. I go in depth on this on a select answers piece and on my Q&A this week, but I want to know who yours are, Luke.
I said I think it was 2 weeks after this year's WrestleMania, I was like, it'll be Sami Zayn. They're setting up the story that Sami Zayn cannot win the world title from Seth Rollins. He's going to win the Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia, and he's going to beat Seth Rollins for the world title at WrestleMania. And then he went to SmackDown and became the US champion, and is now doing the US Open title thing. Which he could have actually moved to SmackDown and got a match with John Cena, which he turned down because he wanted to go for that world title, but just went to SmackDown anyway and did not get that world championship shot against John Cena. So I don't think it's going to be Sami Zayn anymore. I think it'll be CM Punk. I think CM Punk is going to win the men's Royal Rumble, and it's him and Cody at WrestleMania. because we have had 2 years on the bounce of them doing that segment on Raw where they talk about what the weight of being the world champion. And I think Punk is going to win the Rumble and he's going to beat Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship.
I think that's a good call. To me, there's a good 4 top picks. Sami Zayn was one of them for me for quite a while. And they kind of retconned a lot of the Cross storyline because it seemed like the Cross thing was a catalyst for him, like subtly motivating Sami Zayn to become world champion. And obviously they're just like, no, we're not doing that anymore. But Braun Breaker had been one because I think he should have been in the world title picture this year. I'm not incredibly motivated by the vision right now, but because in kayfabe, I don't know why those 2 guys would. What is it benefiting them?
They don't feel like a cohesive unit at the moment.
No.
They feel like 2 separate factions. It feels like Paul Heyman is managing a tag team and Becky and Seth are their own in like different act.
I would love Becky to become the Yoko Ono of the vision and like, you know what I mean? Like split them up and all that. And then she doesn't disagree with it. She's like, oh, Yoko Ono is like one of my favorite musicians. Like that would be great.
Mm-hmm.
But Oba is one of them and Punk is one of them as well, because they have very clearly kept Punk and Cody away from each other for reasons.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do not care to see Punk versus Seth again. I know we're getting it. I know we're leading to that way. I do not care to see it again. I definitely do not see it at WrestleMania. I need to move Punk away from Seth.
James Zimmerman, thank you so much. You rock as well. Does WWE forbid media from saying pay-per-views? They don't. I'm in the habit of saying PLEs. Like it's just what they are now. They can't forbid me from saying anything.
Nope.
Quite frankly. Kenny G, hopefully that one, is saying, imagine your all's AEW Rushmore versus WWE Rushmore. No run-ins, no interruptions, all things legal. Men and or women, 5 versus 5 steel cage match. Who is winning? Let's pick 3 men and 2 women for each team.
Mm-hmm.
In WWE, I'd probably go Rhea and Becky. As far as like fame and like popularity and all that. And in WWE, Cody's got to be on there because he's like the returning guy. Roman Reigns and then CM Punk. CM Punk would be the most interesting one.
That's what I was going to say. I said Punk would be the interesting one. For me, on the dude side of things on AEW, put the Elite in there. It's Kenny and the Bucks. Like that is
Kenny. Like there could be, you could do Swerve and Ospreay and all those, but for the story, it's gotta be those 2. And then Tony Storm and
I'd say Mercedes.
Mercedes.
Two guys, the 2 girls, the WWE dropped the ball with. That really but had a much stronger career. Maybe certainly with Tony Storm, maybe less so with Mercedes over in AEW. For the WWE side, the only one I'd make a case for is Seth to be on the men's team because he has been the corporate guy for so long.
Yeah,
that I think he flies the flag for WWE.
Just to be catty, I would like to add Britt just for the drama. Just for the drama. Jay Polanco says, how bad was Mark Henry's take that Hendry should retire Cena? Who would you guys pick? I'd say Oba, but wish squash didn't happen. Yeah, the Brock squash did not age well, and I do not want to see, all due respect to Joe Hendry, he should not be the man to retire Cena. I feel like whoever retires John Cena should benefit from it greatly, like he benefited greatly from coming in and facing Kurt Angle.
Mm-hmm. Dominic Mysterio is currently on my top.
Like that.
I also there's a good storyline you can do in there that John Cena goes. Here's the thing that's kind of, I don't know, concerning me, but is irritating me about Cena's final 5 days or final dates that he's got is there's not a lot of time to build a story.
Yeah.
Like, WWE looked at the calendar year that they had for Cena, and it feels like they've just remembered that he's retiring in 5 days' time. I was like, we've not built any stories for him, and we've only got 2 TV dates to build a story. But there's a very simple story to tell with Dominic Mysterio. Cena's never won the IC title. It's the one belt he's never gone for, so he's going to win that belt in his final match, and it's against Dominic Mysterio.
Yep. I like that. I'd be good with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, we read that one. Do you think Cena will do interviews regarding the tour or even a Helwani one in early 2026 to lay a good amount out there for the public? I hope so, because people are almost like nervous to talk about what did and didn't happen. Now, granted, The Rock's creative is kept very close to the vest. It is always funny, though, whenever I'll say that and people go, "Oh, you think they're going to tell you?" I'm like, yeah, I just reported on like 6 Rock returns over the last year before they happen. There's somehow like they expected The Rock to be around more. I feel bad that John Cena got his legs cut out from underneath him on what should have been a career-defining run.
Yep. Absolutely. I think Ollie and I have done multiple podcasts about this. We've talked about this subject to death at this point. I think this is possibly the biggest fumbled ball in the history of pro wrestling. This is one of the biggest stars in the history of the company who told you ahead of time, here are the dates I am at. And I think that they fumbled each and every one of those dates. And we're fumbling towards the end as well. And I feel really bad for him. But if Cena does interviews with Ariel Helwani, do you know what he'll say? I had a great run. You know, the company asked me to do a lot of things and I did them, and I'm really proud. I'd like to thank the fans for coming out to support me for each one of those shows. It was a real honor and a privilege to wrestle in front of them. And yep, the jorts are hung up for good now. There's no more matches. I don't think that John Cena is doing a shoot interview. He's not
exactly.
He's not going to Kevin Nash this situation where he's going to sit there with a bottle of wine telling a guy behind a camera, "Oh, let me tell you what happened at Starrcade." Like, yes, we're going to get none of that. Cena's just going to do nice interviews because that's what Cena does.
He is as professional as humanly possible. He has somehow been bulletproof through being like seen at dinner with Vince McMahon and all that stuff after all this happened. Like he knows what to say. Just bought VIP tickets for Blood and Guts. Super hyped about it. Death Riders versus who? I'm torn because somebody pitched to me Daniel Garcia being like a psyop for the Death Riders and actually like not being with them. But I'm like, damn, he's really good with them. So I've liked the Death Riders more since July than I have in years.
Me too. Like, they've been great. The second that Hangman got involved in that storyline, that thing turned around.
Yeah. And I admire that Jon Moxley was just like, all right, I lost the title. Now I'm going to have banger matches to open up Dynamite nonstop. Man.
I think it'll be the women. Like, I think for Blood and Guts, it's the women that'll be in there. Like, it won't be Death Riders versus like a group of lads. The one I want to see though is I want to see Mox and Eddie. Like, if it is going to be Death Riders versus a group of guys, I do want Eddie to get involved in this somehow.
Darby, Eddie, and you probably work some other familiar faces in there as well. JDeb3 says, both my favorite wrestling YouTubers on the same channel. What is this? Crizzlemania, LFG, DAD, and FTF. Man.
Someone said recently, like, because I've been doing the DAD thing now for 4 years, like, you know, actually one's coming up for 5 years now. And someone says, like, Britt Baker's not been on TV for so long. Does anyone even know what that's exactly do anymore?
That's my thing. Like, when people bring up FTF, I'm like, I don't curse on the air anymore.
No.
Like, I have to say, Denise, please don't curse on my show.
Oh, it was so good, Ron. When you were still doing those shows together and she would just drop us when you were like, Denise, I've told you.
Yes.
Please don't curse on this show.
And she's like, you're not going to get demonetized, bro. And I'm like, we have sponsors. And I was like, less than a minute after our read to not have you screaming the F word right after that. Oh, man. Classic. Was there any backstage reaction to McAbee's F-bomb at WrestlePalooza? That man is bulletproof. He barely works there now. So they don't care. And look,
he's so bulletproof. He left halfway through the show. He's like, I'm done, guys. See you later.
Inso Gray says, my two favorite channels working together again. All I can say in my joy is F that F. I'm always open to working and doing stuff with Wrestle Talk. I love those guys. They are incredible. They've just always been really, really good to me.
It's one of the real shames of like, it's nice that we're not in a pandemic anymore, but like one of the
Yes.
real like downsides of not being in the pandemic more is that we started filming things in person again,
Yeah.
and we couldn't do the online stuff. So like we loved doing shows with you, with Denise, with Alex, and like we had like just a bunch of people that we loved doing stuff with. Second that we started filming in person again, we were like, I can't really do a lot of the online stuff anymore. And it's a shame.
Yeah, but we still see each other every so often. We still do stuff here and there.
Of course, exactly.
Swaron says, thanks for all the work. Fantasy booking question. How would you book Cena's retirement with AEW? MJF Cena promo battle would have been pinch his fingers. I mean, obviously MJF would have been a significant part of that. You would have, I mean, the unfortunate thing is he would have just missed Sting no matter what. And that's who he draws comparisons to. But I think you actually would have had Sting come back and do a promo with him that set up a little match with Darby. But are there any dream matches in there that you would have liked to have seen?
Cena and Kenny. Like, I think Kenny's always my answer. Like, if anyone says like, who's your dream match? Because with Kenny, it's like, well, he's probably the one guy that I'll never see wrestle over these guys, because I think he's just going to be with AEW now. I never say never and all that, but Kenny will always be my guy. Cena and Will seems like Will's, because I don't think people give Will Ospreay enough credit for how smart he is about match layouts. I don't think people give him. I know you guys do a lot of good reporting on this because Corey's doing some great work over here in covering the UK scene. But Will does so much stuff behind the scenes for like British wrestling promotions and like laying out matches and stuff. He's super duper smart at it. He and Cena could lay out a brilliant match that will clash their styles together so perfectly.
We're wrapping up, but we still have a few more super chats, humper chats. Brian more or less just says, hi, Luke.
Hey.
Thanks for muting Denise the other week. That jam. Great show. I have non-WWE fans asking if Cena Edge is happening. Nope. Copeland is under AEW contract. There is no benefit to AEW allowing them to do that, and they have not inquired. Dave Koss says, I've leaned more on Cena winning his final match. Reason being, this isn't retiring Cena, as it's his final match regardless. Win helps whoever, but not as much if it's next loss, he's done. I feel like with the way Cena came in, he came in with a loss to a veteran performer, but he benefited so much from that performance that it needs to be a situation where somebody benefits from it. But I don't want him to win the IC title and then it vacate, but this might be a special circumstance. I was okay with Sting doing it as well. Like, I wouldn't hate that.
I would, if I was in that writer's room, if I was in those creative meetings, I would not push heavily for Cena to win, but I would certainly be very open to those discussions and would bring it to the table, because I think people will be going into that match expecting Cena not to win. Imagine the same way I went into Sting's final match expecting him not to win, because I'm like, hey, it's a retirement match. He's probably not going to be retaining the tag titles. And he did. And when he did, I was like, actually, that was completely the right call. But Sting winning that match was the best thing they could have done. I think Cena winning in his final match, it's the Intercontinental Championship. Like, it's not the end of the world if that gets vacated and is held up in a tournament. I love the idea that Cena wins that belt and he completes that in his final year.
Sauron says, I also thought Cena would be in the Hall of Fame this year, but since Mania 43 is in Saudi, do you think it was Saudi's plan to get Cena there in some capacity? No, by the time that deal was nailed down, Sauron, they knew that he was retiring. That was not nailed down before like the last 15 months. That was something that very much like Saudi, as Fightful Select reported, were like, we don't want no damn greatest WrestleMania. We don't want Super WrestleMania. We don't want WrestleMania 2.0 with all these extra colors. We don't want that. We want WrestleMania. So they knew that they weren't getting him. I mean, maybe he'll pop up over there and be like, hey guys, what's up? And AA somebody, but
I mean, he would have been perfect for the 42 the 42 Hall of Fame, but gosh darn it, I guess Stephanie McMahon just has to, she's the real headlining star.
I wonder how they'll handle the Hall of Fame in Saudi.
Well, surely they'll just do a show, right? Like, it'll just be the same show.
Yeah,
like,
but
just with, like, whatever names they put in.
Then bring in like some 65, 70-year-old person over to Saudi.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a very small class.
Yeah, that sort of makes sense. Like, I wouldn't be too surprised if it was a small class. But I think that the idea, if Saudi Arabia want it to be WrestleMania, they need to make it feel exactly like WrestleMania, and I think that includes the Hall of Fame.
You know what they'll do? They'll like induct Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels in, because that's what they've started to do now. And I actually love the match wing. I like it. Totally. UFC did it with the fight wing, and I thought that was great because Stephan Bonner, not a UFC Hall of Famer as a fighter, but certainly that fight was so important that they do that. But I think that they'll do something like that to give, yourself an excuse to have two big names there on that.
Absolutely. I think you've nailed that. I think that is a way for them to have Michaels and Taker be part of that Saudi Arabia Hall of Fame, because they'll be there anyway. Like, I think they will be very smart at using the people who are going to be there anyway to put in
Saudi redemption for them.
Hey, they could put in the Saudi match. They could put in the Explicit Brothers of Destruction match in there.
They could put it in an incinerator is what they could put it in. Like, oh my God. 2 Marks Pod wraps us up and says, the other Mark loves Moxley, but the Death Riders literally make him turn the show off every single time as soon as he sees they're booked. Oh, the other Mark on the show. Listen, the Death Riders have been very entertaining to me over the last couple months. I think that Wheeler Yuta is getting the right kind of heat. I think that the Marina Shafir build has been great. I'm glad that Pac is back, looking like he's fresh off the Oasis reunion tour. I think that Claudio is finding his groove there, and Daniel Garcia is infinitely more interesting than he's been in ages.
You send me that chat in January, I'm completely agreeing with the other guy. I'm agreeing with that other Mark, because I was done with it. I was on this show like pitching for Swerve to beat him when they had the debut match, just because because he just gets the belt off Moxley, and I'm sick of this Death Rider storyline. They made the right call in just saving it for Hangman, but on legit, since the Hangman stuff, I've turned a corner to the Death Riders. But I was earlier this year, man, I was done with that faction. I thought they sucked the energy out of that show. I'm super into them now, though.
Luke, tell the people where they can find you, where they can check you out, where they can support everything that you do.
I suppose Wrestle Talk is the place to check me out if you want to hear me do podcasts and news episodes and things like that. We do news episodes on the Wrestle Talk News 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday. We have the Wrestle Talk podcast every Tuesday and Friday on that channel as well. We have some fun bonus videos that we often pop up on the weekend. And obviously we do pay-per-view and PLE coverage for AEW and WWE. We also have a movie channel, Cutscene, which you can check out there. Nice. Ollie and I do a long-form podcast that we call Worst Movie Ever, where we are ranking terrible comic book movies, and we do scene-by-scene breakdowns over patreon.com/WrestleTalk, Cutscene, and we also have patreon.com/WrestleTalk as well. So we've got a bunch of places you can go and check it out. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram and only Instagram, and it is @thisisluke.owen. I'm not on the Twitter machine anymore, and I feel so much better, and I feel so much better for it. I feel so much healthier for not being on there.
I did not tweet on Monday, and it was phenomenal, to the point to where I considered maybe if I didn't interact with so many wrestlers via Twitter DM, that would probably not interact if I had handed my account over to someone. I would hand my account over. I am also on Facebook debunking a lot of news these days, guys. I'll tell you one thing Wrestle Talk doesn't have: a 3.5 hour Freddie Got Fingered review. We do. Check that out. But right after this, I am posting a mega update. We got stuff on Mystico, on CM Punk. We've got an entry from the Beyond Nitro book over on Fightful Select. Subscribe at $5.99 a month and lock that price in for a year, because I'm pretty sure Jimmy is greedy and is going to try to increase it in 2026 as well. Speaking of, I want to credit Wrestle Talk for something. Wrestle Talk is one of 2 outlets ever that had, I don't know if they still do or previously did, subscribed at a tier that quite frankly didn't exist. You can put in whatever you want to subscribe at, and it was basically a thank you for having content for us to aggregate type of tier. It was them and WrestlingHeadlines.com. Only 2 that have ever done it, and that means a lot to me. So I see a lot of people that are like, well, aren't you ever mad at Wrestle Talk, Fragger? No, they credit and they have helped Fightful an immense amount over the years. They helped me, including getting my salary increased at one point.
Now there's a story to be told at some point.
One day. Here's a funny one. Wrestle Talk got my salary increased, and then when somebody found out what that salary was, they said, I'll pay you double the new salary to come over here.
Whoa.
And obviously I'm still at Fightful, so that didn't happen. But in 2026, Fightful is going to launch a bunch of content because, listen, if I increase that price, I'm going to add a bunch of other content. And we're going to have a lot of like Fightful tells all stories and things like that you guys can see. But by God, Luke Owen, it has been lovely to have you here. I always love talking to you. You're always so good to us. Thank you so much.
No, thank you, dude. I can't again. It's I'm on your show, and it's a pleasure to be on your show. I love doing videos with you. I love chatting with you about all sorts of things, Sean. But the work that you guys do, and it's not just you, but the rest of the Fightful team is superb and second to none. Your dedication to this craft is absolutely,
I love it.
Top tier. Like it's so good, man. Like
I love learning about wrestling more than anything. Yep. I love learning about the how and why of wrestling, and then telling other people what I've learned.
And actually, credit to you as well. Like, if I can put you over some more, doing a solo review show is tough going. I'm not sure I could do it. I think you do it with aplomb, my friend. I think you do a great job with it.
The way that I looked at it, and the way that I've always looked at what we did, is people usually tune in to shows with me on it because they want to find out some news. I don't break down the individual moves as much as I used to, because like, listen, everybody can do that now. And there's a million wrestlers doing it. So I can break it down from a booking perspective and a news perspective and a where it's going to go perspective. And I also want the field to have all these people asking questions. That's why we do so many Q&As, because it's one thing if I get news, but I want our audience to always tell us what they want me to find out. Like that's always important to me. But Luke, thank you so much. We hope to have you on again.
Anytime.
Until next time, my friends, we're out.
Bye.